Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all ready for today's video. Grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your biscuits, because today we're talking about Samantha Jones and Sex and the City. Now, Samantha, as you know, is arguably the best character in the show, and she's ultimately an icon of confidence, self-worth, and overall badassery, slayery, queenness. I mean, she is just such an icon. She exudes confidence, she exudes charisma, and in a show, well, in a period of time when female sexuality was very stigmatized in the media, it was so nice to have a character be unapologetically sexual and not really into monogamous committed relationships. She's the woman who never fell in love, who played the game but never got played, until Richard Wright walked in. He was tall, handsome, and rich. He was a smooth-talking hotel magnate who promised her the world. And for a while, she believed him. This is the story of Samantha and Richard. She was the only one out of all the girls to really walk away when something was putting her through pain, breaking her heart, and when it wasn't working, and when she wasn't getting her needs met in the relationship, as opposed to molding herself into the kind of woman that Richard wanted. That tea is really bad. I don't know why, I need better tea bags. Anyway, when we meet Richard, he's rude and sexist, and the way that he talks about women in the workplace, frankly, should have earned him jail time. I'm gonna attach a few clips if I can, because you need to hear it. Like, wow, this was actually aired on television and they thought this was okay.
Read between the lines, Ms. Jones. I deal with a lot of business men. You might want to consider working with a partner who isn't so emotional.
He thinks that women are not as capable as men, and he relies on sexist stereotypes as insults, like women being emotional, and the fact that he deals with a lot of business men, emphasis on the men. He initially doesn't want to hire Samantha because she slept with one of his colleagues, even though he also admits at the same time that she's one of the best options available for the job. But in his own misogynistic way, he doesn't take her seriously because of the fact that she slept with one of his colleagues. Samantha is really irritated by this double standard, and she's like, you know, if I was a guy, you probably would have congratulated me on getting laid and on my body count, or on me seducing a woman. You wouldn't have shamed me for it. And she really demands that he hires her, and eventually he gives in. The really ironic part is he's judging her for her sexual behavior, but when he later wants to sleep with her himself, he seems to have no problem with that. This double standard thing really annoys me, because men do this all the time, I feel like, in dating. Like, for example, when they praise you for really safeguarding your energy and being selective, but then they get mad when you don't want to sleep with them on the first date, even though they just praised you for being someone that waits and is patient. I just got something stuck in my throat. 1 second, please. So, at first it's all fun and games. Power couple energy, expensive gifts, lavish trips. But I already knew I didn't like Richard because of this first meeting. I was like, bitch, he showed you his poor character at the beginning. Now, I don't mind if he's promiscuous. Samantha's promiscuous, but he should at the very least be a respectful guy who respects women and not be a douchebag, right? And he's smooth, too smooth. And I thought that Samantha would have known to not fall for it like that. And she's the queen of no strings attached, but she starts to realize that she's genuinely liking him and that maybe she is in a bit over her head. And she very directly tells him, grow up and only have sex with me, because she genuinely doesn't like the idea of him sleeping around. But he rejects her interest in monogamy. And he's like, come on, you know we're not the monogamous types. And Samantha's already been rejected in the past, I think by Dominique, who dumped her, so her feelings are really, really hurt. And after a while, Richard rethinks it and they start to get more serious and committed. But I think he only agreed to it for the sake of it, but he didn't really mean it, because then he suggests they do a threesome, which is basically a way of him saying, I'm not satisfied with just you, so can I please have permission to cheat on you, but in a way where it looks like I'm not doing the wrong thing. Oh, and it's my birthday, so he's trying to like guilt trip her into it, right? So to me, like, he was just never going to be that monogamous kind of guy. And this is something that I think really she took too personally, because she was thinking, okay, so there must be something wrong with me, or you just don't like me, because you should want monogamy. So am I just not good enough? What is it about me that's so unappealing you don't want monogamy with me? I get why people like this couple and why they ship them, because they're very similar people. They're almost giving like twin flame energy. They're like two sides of the same coin. And there's also a very interesting shift to watch from just a sexual undertone to a romantic undertone, like in the scene where they dance together in their bathrobes, which I really like, because you see the fear dawn on her face when she realizes how much this moment means to her, and the realization that this moment is special. And then you see him starting to break down her walls, and it's really, really romantic. But of course he has to go and ruin this connection that they have by cheating on her, because yes, Samantha catches Richard cheating on her. She does a whole disguise and everything to go and spy on him. And this is devastating, because Samantha is like the least naive woman in the world. And here, she's the fool. She is so hurt by this. And it's very out of character for her, but you know, sometimes you could be that woman that is the ultimate femme fatale, that is the ultimate heartbreaker. You think you're so confident, and then that one guy comes along and just ruins your life. And this is kind of the case here, because she starts doing reckless things and having really random one-night stands and hookups with random men to try and distract herself from her own feelings. And she even starts being kind of mean and rude to Carrie at one point. And then she says that she doesn't even know who she is anymore. She also goes around defacing public property with photos of him, which, slay queen, do what you gotta do, you know what I'm saying? But it's very, very sad how much this incident got to her and truly hurt her self-esteem. And when she goes to his house, she sees women there in bikinis who got boob jobs. And then she insults them for this, but then afterwards says, I think I need to go and get a boob job. Like, you know, and she's looking at old photos of herself and she's like, look, you can barely see my boobs. Like, where are they? Like, I need a boob job. Like, maybe Richard would have been happy with me if my boobs were better, is basically what she's saying. And I think that insecurity was alleviated because those two girls in bikinis told her, basically, maybe Richard would have wanted you if you had bigger boobs. So obviously, underneath all her bravado and her confidence, there's deep trust issues and insecurity. She starts dating Smith, who's objectively younger and hotter than Richard. I'm sorry, I said what I said. He's really sweet. He wants to hold her hand and she's like, no, because she's avoiding intimacy. She's worried about getting hurt again and she's guarded. And I don't know why she's sad at this point, because Richard ain't shit. Like, he's so boring. Like, I swear you could walk out on the street now and look around and you'll find a more good looking, interesting man. Like, there's nothing. I really don't get why she's sad, but I also think it's sad that when someone genuinely good comes along like Smith, who wants to treat her well, she can't see it because she's hung up on this validation trigger loop thing with, oh, why doesn't he want me? I need to be validated. And I'd say it's really depressing for her how she uses sex as a crutch to feel validated, to get attention, and to make herself feel more desirable. But it seems very self-deprecating when it's used to escape painful feelings. Like the night that Richard had told her the first time he didn't want to be exclusive, she'd gone and hooked up with someone, and it was with some random PR guy she didn't know well, who was misogynistic and creepy, and she didn't enjoy it. And now she's trying to escape her relationship with Smith, and she goes and messes it up by going back to Richard and having sex with him. It's a very, very self-deprecating, gross, vulgar, sad scene that looks very unsatisfying for her, that kind of sexualizes her, but like not in a fun way, just in a like kind of creepy way. And she doesn't enjoy it again in a way that makes me feel like sex for her is self-harm. Like, what's the point if you're not enjoying it? And while they're having sex, Richard is complaining about how he has less value in the dating market than he used to have. And then she leaves and she immediately deeply regrets her actions, not only because she's betrayed Smith, but because now she feels ashamed, icky, and terrible about herself, which I just find like deeply, deeply sad. This is why I've always felt conflicted about Samantha's character, because on one side she's a total baddie, she's assertive, she's unapologetic, and she owns her sexual needs, and I really admire how she dates on her own terms. But underneath, she really struggles with vulnerability and attachment. I think she's really scared of getting hurt or being bored. And when she notices that she genuinely likes a guy and really needs him, that's when she gets uncomfortable and starts to pull away. And I think casual sex has lately, the last 10 years, become this very kind of glorified, normalized thing, and a form of instant gratification that largely benefits men, but it's been repackaged as like empowerment or something you should do. If casual sex makes you feel really good, or maybe you don't have much time to date or whatever the case may be, then of course, like, who am I to judge, you know, like, do whatever you want. But I think for a lot of people, they're doing it and they're feeling unsafe or pressured, or they're trying to convince themselves that they're having fun when they're not. And I don't think that's okay. I think you should feel good about what you're doing and not have any regrets afterwards. In Samantha's case, it almost feels like an addiction or a way to regain self-control and mask her pain and feel sexy. Luckily, because Smith is actually a good guy, he doesn't judge her too harshly for this because he understands that she's hurting. In fact, he actually goes to check on her to make sure she got home safe and gives her a hug, but I know it's kind of unrealistic to me. No man would actually be that nice about it. But maybe this is because he's an addict, or he used to be an addict, so he understands that it really wasn't personal, and sometimes you just have a crutch that you need to fall back on. By the way, the movie ruined them. The movie ruined them. These two never should have broken up. I think they were perfect. They were perfect. They were the most romantic couple in the show. But anyway, Samantha tries to convince herself that Richard has changed, and she goes back to him. And he also doesn't let her go easily. You know, he wants to win her back. And around season 5, they're sitting at breakfast and Samantha announces that her and Richard are back together. And the reaction is extremely judgmental, especially from Carrie, which I thought was odd because she wants Big to take her back after she's cheated. She wants Aidan to take her back after she's cheated on him. But now she's judging Samantha for giving a cheater another chance, you know? She's casting doubt on Samantha's decision, but in a very mocking, passive-aggressive way, where she kind of jokes like, oh, I should write an article about desperate women who will believe anything. So apparently Samantha's the desperate one? Okay. Around season 5, episode 3, she gives Richard a second chance, but she doesn't truly trust him. She's always spying on him. And she was right to, because he cheats on her again. He has no respect for her. And she realizes how bad he made her feel about herself. So what makes him different from all of Samantha's other boyfriends? Like, why did I make a video about this couple? It's not like they're important. It's not like they're a main couple like Carrie and Big or something, who I will cover, by the way. I'm gonna make a whole video about them. But why this couple? I could have spoken about a more prominent couple like Charlotte and Harry, right? The reason why I talked about these two and I think they're significant is because it was the first man that I think truly made Samantha doubt herself and doubt her own value. And what really bothered me about this is she's genuinely lost and heartbroken over this. But everyone is making fun of her and using her trauma and grief for jokes and for humor, because it's almost like they don't take her grief seriously because she's meant to be the strong, fierce one of the group. And it's like they don't realize that she has feelings. I really like Samantha's character because she reminded us that we don't actually have to settle for bad behavior. We can leave. We don't need to be a loser like Miranda and try and convince ourselves that our husband's so great. Like, we can genuinely leave and walk away. And even though it took her a while to realize it, she does ultimately walk away. I made a TikTok about this a few days ago saying that because of women like Miranda, it sent a really bad message that it's okay to date mediocre men and settle, basically. And someone in the comments actually said, most people are mediocre and they still deserve love. No. If you're a piece of shit who cheats, you're not automatically entitled to a relationship. Like, go to therapy. You're not automatically owed a relationship. And nobody just deserves love. Like, you don't just inherently deserve love because, like, even if you're a total trash human who's not good to be in a relationship with. So I disagree with that. And that was a big problem that I had with the show, is that Carrie and Big are like our main couple and they treat each other terribly. Remember that one time she like punched him in the face? Like, what the heck? They were violent with each other. They were volatile. He was passively aggressively volatile, which is like so bad because he's like sly about it. You have couples like Trey and Charlotte where it's just deeply unsatisfying. So that's why I'm so happy when sometimes in the show the characters actually decide, you know what, this isn't working, I'm not going to try and make it work, I'm just going to leave. And that's why I love that Samantha left Richard. When she knows that he's not to be trusted, she sashays into the restaurant in her fabulous heels, walking with such confidence, and she has the final say. She takes her power back, and she tells him, dirty man, dirty martini, and she then gets up and she walks off without anything and doesn't see him anymore. And I love that, because that's exactly how it should be. Is she stood up and she remembered who she was. She finally remembered that no man is that great. No man should have that much power and control over your feelings. And if he doesn't want you, another man will. And it's really not a big deal, and your value is not determined by whether he wants to commit to you or not. Not only was Richard just sexist, obnoxious and awful, and I'm shocked that people liked him because I think he's horrible, but also he and Samantha were like too similar as people. Even their flaws were kind of similar in a way, and I just don't think that it's a match. So make sure you stay tuned for the rest of my Sex and the City series. This was just a short one because there's not much to say about this couple. They didn't appear for long. I am going to do a really big deep dive into more significant couples like Carrie and Big, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching. And if you've gotten this far, go follow me on Instagram. I'm posting all kinds of fun stuff on there at the moment for fashion. And remember, never trust a man who orders a dirty martini. Bye guys.